Hello and welcome to episode 0 of the Footglish podcast. This is a brand new podcast about football and English. And in this episode 0, I would like to introduce myself to you and also the concept of this show. So, first of all, my name is Zdenek, and my full name is Zdenek Lukas, and I'm from the Czech Republic. Some people call it Czechia these days as well. So Czechia or Czech Republic. And I used to play football, not at a very professional level, but I really enjoyed it a lot. Now, I'm also an English teacher, a professional one. I have a master's degree in English teaching, and I have taught English in 4 different countries, including the United Kingdom and recently also Vietnam. Uh, my favorite way to teach my students is through a conversation about football. I believe that if you share your passion with someone, um, you can make great connections, and as a result, you learn much faster than you would normally learn in the traditional way with a textbook or you know, with a lot of grammatical exercises. So let's say this is kind of my way. And I've always toyed with the idea of tying or uniting English and football, connecting these two subjects, English and football. For example, my master's thesis. Um, okay, I've got it here, so I can actually show you my master's thesis. Which I wrote at university in my final year, is about analyzing the language of um, English football commentators. So, as you can see, I've always been kind of crazy about trying to connect um English and football. So, I thought since now I have about 4 clients, one-to-one students with whom I speak um, English about football, only that's all we do in our lessons. And I have to say, these are my favorite lessons. I thought I might as well just start a new podcast. This is not my first podcast, by the way. I also have Zdenek's English podcast, which is another English podcast. And so I thought, okay, let's start something new. Let's see how it goes. So hopefully it will go well and you like it. And well, the plan on this podcast is to talk about football, of course. Now that is the Czech national team, Czech football, but also the Premier League, which is my favorite league at the moment. So I could also occasionally talk about other leagues as well, European leagues mainly. And I'm planning to have episodes in which I have some guests on as well. And these could be football fans, people from the football field, let's say, of different teams. It could be international teams. It could be club football, anything really. I think this podcast will have a lot of flexibility in terms of what I can do on it. But the idea is I'll be talking about football, so you can, if you are an English learner, you can develop your listening skills, right? And hopefully this will help you with your confidence, with your vocabulary as well, and ultimately your fluency too. So yeah, um, also because I'm a teacher, you see, I can't just have a chat about football or just interview someone without trying to teach something, right? I'm a teacher, I'm an English teacher. So I might as well attempt to teach some things too. Mostly it's going to be vocabulary, whether it's words, fixed phrases, idioms, a lot of different things. It could be football related stuff, but also something people can use outside football. So even if you're not interested in football, you may actually learn something useful here. Hopefully, that is the idea anyway. And when I have more listeners, because obviously this is a new podcast, so I'm going to start with 5, 10 listeners, mostly my friends or people who listen to my other podcast. So when I do have more listeners, I will start publishing extra podcasts for subscribers. So basically, people who decide to support me and this podcast, and they get extra episodes in return. And in these episodes, I will teach vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, anything that I find interesting and useful. So, since this is the, let's say, zeroth or the first episode, episode 0, the pilot episode, I might as well show you what I can do. So let's keep it simple though. Let's talk about football. So, as you know, football is the sport, right? Everybody knows that. But it can also be the ball, the actual ball. Yes, that's right. You refer to the ball as football in English. So that's something a lot of people don't realize. Just like a volleyball would be a ball that is used for volleyball, right? Um, yeah, it makes sense. So obviously, in the USA and possibly in some other countries too, they don't call it football because you see they have American football. That's why they came up with another word for it, soccer. So it's possible that some of you listening to this use that term more than football. European people mostly are going to use the word football, that's for sure, especially in the UK. Nobody's going to say soccer. They're actually going to laugh at that word. So, what else? What else can I tell you? Well, there. So I'm basically showing you another way you can say the word football. You can say soccer, but then there is a short version of football. It's like kind of a slang term that people in the UK use sometimes, and that's footy. Just footy. Yeah, I'm gonna watch some footy this weekend, or what are you up to? Well, just some footy and stuff. Yeah, footy. And then you've got words, then you have got some expressions like a kickabout, for example. Yeah, a kickabout is just a not such a serious match. It's just you go with a couple of friends outside. Maybe you build your goals from bags or anything available, basically, and you play on grass anywhere, right? Sometimes it's not even grass, and it's called a kickabout. Yeah, sometimes you don't even have even sides, maybe 5 against 4, something like that, right? It's just like a not a serious match. You just play with friends, and then when it gets dark, you just say the final goal wins and wrap it up. Okay. And then, of course, there are some other expressions like 5 aside, 6 aside, which means you've got some matches like where on each side there are 5 players, right? And 6 aside would be 6 players. Obviously, uh, the football as we know it, it's going to be 11 aside, right? 11 players, including a goalkeeper on each side. Sometimes there is a referee as well, obviously, when it's professionally done. And when it's at the top level, you also have VAR, video assistant referee. So we're definitely going to talk about this topic on this podcast in the future. Okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to tell you about this podcast, and I wanted to kind of show you how I may teach on this podcast. So hopefully you liked it. If you did, please make sure you share this with your friends. It's absolutely crucial for the success of this podcast and for my motivation as well, indeed. Because if I see people respond positively, if there is positive feedback, then believe me, I'm gonna keep producing more and more episodes because I see there is demand for it. Okay, we will see what happens, but I'm gonna speak to you soon. Until next time, bye.